Thank you very much, Andrew. It's nice to be here at Politics and Prose after all these years. Thank C-SPAN for coming, which illustrates, by the way, how one person can make a difference. That was the idea of Brian Lamb many years ago. He persuaded the cable industry to allow that kind of immediate, unedited coverage of events. There are many good people here who I've worked with and who are active citizens in their own right. Mark Plotkin is here. You know, he's been known to advocate statehood once in a while for the colony, the District of Columbia. And Joanne Anderson is here, and she wrote the book For the People, which is a cookbook, in effect, for civic action. It's very concrete. And Russell Mulcahy is here, editor of the Corporate Crime Reporter. He never runs out of material. Robin Diener is here. She runs our D.C. Library Renaissance project, and it started out 10 years ago. It was rated the worst library system of any major city, and now a lot new branch libraries, and there is definitely a renaissance. There is Alan Nairn is here, the great, courageous human rights advocate, and John Richard, the citizen networker excellence, is here as well, and many others. So thank you for for coming. This book has a provocative title. It's called "Told You So," but I did wait 42 years before saying it. And someone would say, "Well, how could you be right so often? I mean, empirically right, as well as perhaps normatively right." And my answer is, it's really pretty easy. Here are the steps. First, you do not censor yourself, okay? Second, you make sure that you have a sense of urgency about improving the life of people on our planet. The third is make sure you don't have an axe to grind which distorts or covers up reality. And you have those three, anybody can have those, and you pretty much are going to figure out, for example, when corporate crime started really surging in the Nixon administration period with all kinds of creative violations, and you can predict that if the president doesn't do anything about it, it's going to get worse. Or you can predict the results of the NAFTA and WTO trade agreements that President Clinton and Robert Rubin and others got through Congress, and how it was going to unemploy a lot of workers and deindustrialize America and circumvent democratically our institutions of regulatory agencies, courts, and legislatures to a concentrated form of power in Geneva, Switzerland, that operates in secret, to which we have to adhere to. It doesn't take a prophetic voice. It just takes looking at reality and making sure that you get your facts straight and you want to convey it to people. And so just a lot of things that we can all predict. And it's important because foresight is important. Foresight alerts people as early as possible to problems. I was quoted in the 70s during the sudden surge of oil prices when Mr. Hubbard of the Geological Survey was saying we were going to run out of oil in the U.S. by the year 2000. I said the world is drowning in oil. And where'd that come from? Simple. As the price goes up, you get more and more economic retrieval of hydrocarbons, whatever disaster it is for the environment. And the world is full of hydrocarbons. The same with the Iraq War. I'm sure many of us predicted disaster there, and unprecedented, over 300 retired admirals, generals, colonels, national security chiefs, and diplomats spoke out. They wrote articles and letters to the editor to try to stop the invasion. And they knew that the U.S. Army itself and the Pentagon was against it because they knew what they were getting into, in contrast to the Air Force and the Navy. And of course, look at all the voices who were ignored predicting the repeal of Glass-Steagall, again under Mr. Clinton, which shattered the New Deal reforms separating commercial banking from investment banking and led to the binge of speculation that ended up in the 2008 Wall Street crash. So I urge you to just apply those three little standards, and you'll be known as the prophet in your circle, and that will give you more credibility. Now, I would like the residual memory of this night's gathering to revolve around one statement, and that is it's easier than we think to turn our country around. I'm going to repeat that. It is easier than we think to turn our country around. We have concentrated power, and we've read all the exposés. Bookstores full of exposés. We live in a golden age of documentary exposés and book exposés and article exposés, and they have less and less effect on change for two central reasons. One, the concentration of power has become ruthlessly efficient in this country. They've taken away your freedom of contract with fine print contracts that take away your rights even to go to court, which no government could do, but corporations get away with it. Credit card companies and mortgage companies and so on. Compulsory arbitration. They block you if you're wrongfully injured, having your full day in court. That's called tort reform. I call it tort deform because you don't restrict someone and call it reform. After all, the Seventh Amendment is still intact and the right of trial by jury. They take away the value of your vote by loading the electoral process with huge amounts of money from commercial interests largely, and by restricting competition, blocking third parties, blocking independent candidates, harassing their petitioners, filing frivolous suits to wear them down. Somehow I have a little experience with that. So you have access to our regulatory agencies never been worse. And it's very hard just to reach your member of Congress now. And I don't just mean staff. It's more and more members of Congress. You hit voicemail. And if you don't happen to be on their campaign contribution list, it's hard to get an audience with one of the 535 men and women who we should focus on relentlessly with all civic action, so that whether there are rallies in South Dakota or marches in Los Angeles, in order for them not to go into the ether, they got to zero back with laser focus on the senators and representatives who have enormous power given to them under the Constitution that they have surrendered to the corporatist government here in Washington, the merger of big corporations and government. And even in the media, for example, we do have the indie media and Amy Goodman and others, but look what's happened to PBS lately. It's quite remarkable who gets on Charlie Rose. Charlie Rose has had Tom Friedman on 70 times. That's more than all the other progressives combined that have been on his show. And he's had David Sanger on 65 times. Reporters interviewing reporters, and it's a bizarre combination that excludes a lot of voters, and you see it on Sunday shows and news shows and the like. So saying it's easier than we think is a reflection that only a fraction of 1% of the people in this country spend any time on civic engagement. They do volunteer, they do charity work, but as I've said, a country that has more justice is a country that needs less charity. So we have very, very small number of people in every community who try to hold up the pretensions of a civic culture and actually spend time on it. So you ask yourself, what if it goes to 5%? I mean, can you imagine what would happen if it goes to 5% of people organizing themselves in every congressional district and focusing, for example, on 10 redirections in our country that have majority support, like full Medicare for all with free choice of doctor and hospital, cracking down on corporate crime, living wage and labor reforms, the kind of changes that we would all like to see, a majority of people would like to see in this country, changing the tax code, getting out of empire criminal wars of